Philosophy of life. Philosophy of life, exploring my world from an impartial view. If matter acting on matter for a sufficient period of time can create anything, then I should be able to go out to the mountains of Colorado and find naturally occurring computers, cameras, and cell phones. As we've seen, those inorganic devices are much less complex than a simple organic bacterium. Yet, most people would find my statement to be silly at best. Why? Whether organic or inorganic, the complexity and design is obvious. To take this concept to a simple level, I examined the watch on my wrist. Mine is digital. I contemplated the interdependent system of silicon chips, wires, and LED displays. Actually, by today's technological standards, that's a pretty simple device. However, is there any question that it was created by a group of designers, handed off to a team of mechanical engineers, and then placed into production by a team of automation specialists? Then I took a minute to look at the wrist under my watch. I've grown comfortable with its apparent simplicity. I looked closer at the skin and hair follicles. I touched them. I thought about the nerves that just told my brain to synthesize that touch. Then I focused more closely and pondered the microscopic makeup of each of my cells. I imagined the complex cellular city at work, and contemplated the wonder of my brain that allowed me to imagine such a thing. I thought about the veins just under the surface of my skin. I thought about my heart pumping oxygenated blood through those veins to keep my wrist and hand alive. I thought about my lungs as they inflated, deflated, and processed that oxygen for my heart. Then I flexed my hand. I pondered the miraculous communication effort that occurred in a millisecond. I created a thought, my brain processed the subconscious instruction and translated it into a task for my body. My nervous system delivered that task to my wrist, and my wrist performed the task perfectly. I never really thought about what just happened. How does an interconnected system like that evolve gradually and randomly over time? It goes on and on. My digestive tract, how did that evolve gradually over millions of years? Without processed energy, how would my earliest, evolving ancestors even exist? My part in a two-part reproductive system, come on, how did that evolve randomly over millions of years through natural selection and genetic mutation? How do you pass on new and improved genetic traits without the means to reproduce in the first place? I was finally thinking about these things. So, out of all this, I developed a new thesis for my view of life. We need to drop our preconceived notions. Dump our presuppositions. Just meditate on this material with an impartial mind. Does this stuff have metaphysical implications? Sure. But why should that deter us from logically examining the evidence? Where did we get the notion that science and technology somehow have to exist in a naturalistic vacuum? That's not true science. True science is observing the evidence, creating a hypothesis, and testing that hypothesis through various means. Philosophical presuppositions have no place in true science. If science reveals things outside the bounds of known physics, then science should be applauded for its impartial contribution to philosophical and metaphysical thought. L. Cohen is a mathematician, researcher and author, a member of the New York Academy of Sciences, and officer of the Archaeological Institute of America. In his book, Darwin Was Wrong, A Study in Probabilities, Cohen writes, in a certain sense, the debate transcends the confrontation between evolutionists and creationists. We now have a debate within the scientific community itself. It is a confrontation between scientific objectivity and ingrained prejudice, between logic and emotion, between fact and fiction. In the final analysis, objective scientific logic has to prevail no matter what the final result is, no matter how many time-honored idols have to be discarded in the process. After all, it is not the duty of science to defend the theory of evolution and stick by it to the bitter end, no matter what illogical and unsupported conclusions it offers. If in the process of impartial scientific logic, they find that creation by outside superintelligence is the solution to our quandary, then let's cut the umbilical cord that tied us down to Darwin for such a long time. It is choking us and holding us back. Every single concept advanced by the theory of evolution and amended thereafter is imaginary, and it is not supported by the scientifically established facts of microbiology, fossils, and mathematical probability concepts. Darwin was wrong. The theory of evolution may be the worst mistake made in science.